This is my video journal. It's never intended to be advice or guidance. I'm just expressing what I'm thinking and feeling in the present moment. This is my garden. I could introduce it that way too. This is my garden. This is what I do for self-care. Let me show you my garden. It's pretty much what the show is trying to become, because I just spent all afternoon propagating and transplanting and watering, just managing my growing empire of nature. And this is the nursery, I call it, in the sunroom, where everything begins. But eventually the projects end up outside. I've got a lot of things that I'm growing from seed right now in here. I'm growing some giant tree tomatoes. I'm pretty sure that's actually what they're called, if you Google it. And they grow up to 800 grams, so almost a kilo, massive tomatoes, bigger than your hand. And I'm not growing those because I love tomatoes or anything. I just think it's extraordinary that they can grow that ridiculous, and it will be, a bit of a novelty thing. So I got 6 seeds that haven't sprouted yet. I've got cherry tomatoes and regular tomatoes as well. I actually have one tomato plant already bearing fruit, and it's got 40 tomatoes on it, this one plant, even though it copped a storm and it got broken. It just hasn't slowed it down at all. But yeah, when I get these other tomatoes going, I'm gonna make sure I build solid supports for them, because tomatoes fall over and shit. That fruit's too heavy for them. I don't know how they've survived evolution, because they seem like nonsense when you're actually trying to grow them. But yeah, I actually do know how, because they grow like weeds. If you spit tomato seeds out anywhere, they'll probably grow. They're so rapid to grow. And I don't think they care that they fall over and can't hold their own weight. But a gardener cares, because it looks untidy and it will fall over on your other plants if it's in a garden with other plants and things like that. So welcome to my gardening journal. I didn't even mean to do this. It's just what I'm thinking and feeling in the present moment. And I'm looking over there because I'm trying to think what else I planted. Planted a whole heap of new things. I'm trying to grow mandarins from seed, and I think I've got one potentially that will be a candidate for actually making it to its own pot, because they're all in egg cartons at the moment. I don't think an egg carton's enough room for a mandarin to germinate. That's my hypothesis at the moment. The only mandarin seed that did go was one that I put in a pot. I totally forgot about it. I just put it in a pot and didn't even think about it. And that's the one that actually came forward. And I got watermelons that I put in today, just 2. Because once I get one watermelon plant going, I'll have unlimited seeds, and they grow pretty quick. And what else did I do? Getting all the herbs going, because different herbs repel different pests, and we've already been attacked by cabbage moths, which look really beautiful, like these little white butterfly looking things, like moths, and they look really beautiful flying around in the sunset and shit, but they're actually laying seeds all over our plants, and then the offspring, the little caterpillars, eat the shit out of the leaves. And funny story, the first time that I made dinner out of our garden, I didn't wash the vegetables properly, and there was a huge caterpillar in the veggies, and I boiled them and I served them up. And of course my girlfriend is the one that gets the giant caterpillar, and she full refused to eat anything out of our garden ever again. But she was kind of joking, but not really. So she's like, you have to wash everything and like make sure. So that was hilarious to me. And since then, like I have checked it and stuff. Had like a mad like rainbow spaghetti bolognese the other night with just like all of the different things like golden zucchini and like red capsicum, and like found like a different color, like something of a different color, and like made like this super healthy spaghetti bolognese. And that was awesome, actually eating stuff out of the garden. And there's like it'd be interesting to see who verifies this or who argues with it, but I've heard that like within the first like really short period of time, like first few minutes after you pick a vegetable or a leaf or some food off the plant, it loses like some huge percentage of its nutrients. Like it's just like immediately as it starts to die, like the nutrient value just drops really significantly very rapidly, and then it kind of like after that it's just like it has the nutrient value that it has and it doesn't drop that much. Cockatoos flying around as well. So like since I heard that, I've just been eating direct from the garden, like kind of like foraging out of my own garden and just eating as fresh as I possibly can, just to get like that little bit more nutrient value. And I don't know if it's making a difference. Like I haven't had blood tests or anything, but I feel good. And it's like psychologically it feels good because it's like more of a relationship with your garden and everything. And one of the things that I promised myself when I started all of this, like planting all these things again, is like I always plant heaps of stuff and I never use it. So I made a massive commitment, like a really strong commitment, really strong intent to like eat everything. Like don't just grow it all and then go, oh yeah, look at my garden. Like eat it every day. Like eat something every day. Like constantly like eat it and then grow more stuff. Like keep the cycle going. Don't just like lose your relationship with it. So that's been really cool. I've actually got like I bought 100 pots, like 100 pots, man, to like just for how many different seedlings and things I've got going on, because everything's an experiment. I'm just seeing like what actually works and what comes up and how fast stuff grows. So, and I'm already gone through so many of those 100 pots, so probably gonna buy like 1,000 pots or something, and like bigger pots too. I've got to get like the next level up, the next size up, because I've only got little ones, and then I can, yeah. Another thing, in case anybody's having the thought, is like, what about when you move house? Like this is still renting. Eventually I want to have a house where I can plant all these trees. Like I'm growing trees now, like fruit trees. Like mandarins are my starter, but I'll grow more. It's going to take like, anywhere from 5 to 20 years to have like a solid tree. But they're not gonna be full on trees in the next 5 years. Like I've seen my brother grew an apple tree from seed, and it's only like maybe it's like half my height, and he's been growing that for at least 5 years. So I figured I could just grow like heaps of these little saplings and keep them in pots, and then when I do buy some property, like I can put them in the ground on my own property, but I don't have to wait to start that process. Like I can actually get it all going, which is like more motivation as well. And it's like more of that fulfilling feeling that you're on your way to your goal. And it's like, if I'm growing the trees to plant on my property that I'm going to own someday, like it's so much stronger of a reality in my own mind. Like of course I'm gonna, like I believe it so much that I'm preparing my crops for my property that I'm going to have, so that's like really powerful. I reckon it feels powerful. Like I am in a place now in my life where I've just proven to myself so many times that I can do whatever I set my mind to, that I don't do exit strategies or plan Bs or that kind of thing anymore. I just go for it. And it's like so funny. This is a cool insight. Like I thought this was going to be a gardening journal, but it's going to be like a all over the place journal. I had this realization recently that a lot of the friends and family and people in my life are more scared of imagining my dreams going wrong than I am of actually having a red hot go at what I'm thinking. So, one example is I was looking at self-publishing a book, and I was like, if I spend $20,000, I can have a book that I wrote everywhere in the world, in every like online bookshop, like everything. Like I can have somebody take care of all of the different bits and pieces and actually put my book out there for real. Like, and I can just I can invest that myself and make it happen. I don't have to get anybody else's permission. I don't have to find a publisher that thinks it's good enough. I can just decide that I'm going to make my book worldwide. And I was like, that's so cool. Like, oh, $20,000. And I started talking to my friends and like my family and that. And people were just like so scared, like on my behalf almost. Like, not even on my behalf. It had nothing to do with me actually. But they're like, there was definitely this element of like they were imagining themselves doing it and it was like way too scary for them. And I was so disconnected from that fear. And like it's like the hilarity of it is that it's my thing. It's like what I'm gonna do, and they're scared of it. Like it's like me talking about a big commitment or like this big risk, I suppose you would call it, which it's not really a risk. The way that I'm thinking about it, it's like I'm happy to spend $20,000. Not that I have $20,000 to spend, but find it and figure it out. Put it on a payment plan, whatever it is. Like I'd rather spend $20,000 on a dream than on a flash car. Like I've never been the flash car guy. I've never been like the like gold watch and like suits guy. You've seen me in all my journals like wearing like $4 shirts from Kmart and shit. Like I spend money on dreams. I spend money on personal development and like living like really cool stories. Like I want to experience like I'm not just saying cliches. Like I actually live the cliches, which is kind of funny. So yeah, I was like, that was just one example where I got several people like freaking out about a dream that like they didn't even have to, that it wasn't real. It's not real to you. Like it's not your reality. You don't have, it's okay. It's funny as. What was the other example recently? There was another like really even funnier thing that I was like thinking about doing. Oh, yeah, I wanted to invest in a startup, and it's a startup company. Like I know the guy who runs the company and he's a legend, and the way that he does everything is amazing. And it's already such a successful company. I've watched it scale, I've watched it grow, and it's just this incredible thing. And I'm learning so much just from like being in the peripherals of that community, like just being like loosely associated with it. I'm learning so much, and it's such a like supercharged like thing that's happening right in front of me. So I was like, I want to invest in this because it's like just becoming available as like the first round of investors can invest in it. And one of my friends was like, there's like so many things that I'd rather invest in. And he'll probably watch this and he'll know who he is actually, because he does watch the journal sometimes. But he wasn't the only one. There was a few people that were like, that seems a little bit risky and stuff. And again, it's like, it's just a different way of thinking about it, because they're thinking like risk versus reward, win versus lose. Like, what if I lose my money? Or like, what if it isn't successful? What if it isn't a great idea? And I'm just simply not thinking like that anymore. Same with the book. I'm not thinking like, what if I lose $20,000? I'm just like, my book's going to be everywhere in the world. That's the end of this discussion. Like I'm not worried about losing the money. And the same with like investing in a cool startup that I believe in. Like it's not about the analytical like win versus lose, risk versus reward thing. I'm not looking to make $1 million off an investment. I'm looking for an experience and like to be a part of something and to learn from it. And I'm already learning so much. Like this, I just saw somebody that I know crowdfund like a huge project using I've never seen that in front of me before, and now I have. So I'm just grateful for that. And whether I put heaps of money into it or not, like I just want to be a part of stuff, and I just want to learn from experience and like do things. Like it's just a totally different way of looking at it, and it's hard to explain like how disconnected I am from the fear that is being sort of projected onto me when I talk about crazy ideas and stuff. And I've always been that way. Like I go all in on like the craziest stuff because I understand that there is no all in. Like if I go all in and like give my everything to an idea and it goes nowhere and I let it go and I give up, next week I still have my all in. Like people think of like, if I say all in, you're probably thinking all of the money that's in your bank account, but you have time, you have skills, you have abilities, you have other non-monetary assets. Like there's so much that you can create with what's available to you as an individual human being. And you realize this thing, if you just keep trying stuff, that like nothing, you don't lose anything really except time, but you lose the time anyway, which is the huge, most massive insight you can ever have, is like, whether I win or I lose tomorrow, I lost today. Like today is gone. So I've done like crazy shit my whole life. When I was 20, I like lost like tens of thousands of dollars on my first business idea that I didn't even really realize was a business idea. That's how over my head I was. Like, I'm just gonna go and do this thing that's ridiculous. And everybody, like, back then when I was like 20, the conversation wasn't like, oh, maybe you shouldn't do that. The conversations were like, that's impossible. You cannot do that. So I've come a long way now, because now people know that I can do anything that I want and nothing's going to stop me, but they'll try to talk me out of it because it's scary to them. Whereas back then they were just like, I cannot see a way that this is possible to become real, period. And they would just be like, nah, there's no way you're going to do this. That would be the end of their thoughts about it. And then 6 months later, I would do the most ridiculous thing in the world and it would cost me like $20,000. And everybody would be like, whoa. And now, yeah. I've learned from all those experiences as well. I'm not going to make those same mistakes, or like, I could be making more mistakes moving forward now with the things that I just, highlighted. Like, they could be mistakes, but you won't know until you're on the other side of them. And from all of the worst mistakes that I've ever made, if you can even call them mistakes, they're where I learn the most lessons. And that's like what's made me able to navigate reality so fearlessly. You're like, you make enough mistakes and you fail enough, then you just stop caring. I say it so frequently, like, I just don't care. Like, if it's like what the outcome is, like whatever it is, let's see what happens. I think I said that in a journal ages ago when I was driving around the outback. I had this like massive epiphany around that. Like, let's just see what happens. Like, maybe a huge storm will come and like, I'll get struck by lightning or some shit. Like, who cares? Let's see what happens. And then you just like get into that relationship with reality where it becomes really fun, because it's like, there's no fear left. It's just like, let's see. Maybe I should just call this video journal, let's see. If you got anything out of it, please let me know in the comments down below. Pass it on to somebody else who might just like have a lightning bolt epiphany moment from listening to this chat. Subscribe if you haven't already, and go check out kailives.com if you feel called to do so.